to the channel. As you saw, this episode is going to cover a session from Red Rock Casino in Las Vegas. Played there a few days ago and decided I'd share my thoughts about this room with you guys in case some of you haven't been there before. I've only played here once, so take these thoughts with a grain of salt, but from my first impression, this is what I got out of it, starting with the good things. First thing I noticed is this place has really nice equipment, including the tables, the chairs, the felt, the chips, even the cards themselves. Everything had a good feel to it and it adds for a nicer overall experience. Secondly, the staff seemed great, including the dealers and floor staff. Everyone was really friendly and on point. And lastly, something I think is cool about this place is that they allowed me to film as long as I don't get players' faces in the shot. So that was a nice change of pace. I usually have to hide the camera from floor staff, so pretty cool of them. However, no poker room is without its flaws. So let me share with you guys some of the things I didn't love about this place. Number one was the action. Maybe I was in a bad game, maybe I was there the wrong time of the week or whatever, but my game had no action. It was very dry and it was almost like, unless it was the nuts, there was not more than 30 big blinds going in the middle. Secondly, and this one's not a huge deal, just something I noticed, they used 3 different chips for the 1-2 no limit games, which are $1, $2, and $5. The color on these things is a little weird. For the $1 chip, they use gray, like a dark gray, and for the $2 chip, they use white. I kept having to fix my bets throughout the game, and just something I guess you have to get used to. Something else that was a bit strange, I thought, was that they didn't have 2-5 running when I showed up, which was at around 11 a.m. on a Friday. So I guess maybe that's not too uncommon, but I wanted to actually play bigger today and didn't get a chance to do that. And lastly, something that isn't convenient about this place, even though it's not really their fault, is that it's far from the strip. About 20 or 30 minutes west, actually. So for those of you who come from out of town to visit Las Vegas, such as myself, it's not super convenient and you have to drive out of the way a bit. Overall, I'd give this place a 5 out of 10. Not set in stone, certainly, as I've only played here once, but from first impressions, something's good, something's not so good. Moving on to the actual poker. As mentioned, I couldn't play 2-5, so decided to play some 1-2 no limit. Bought in for $300, and even though the action wasn't great, managed to get at least a few interesting hands in there. So let's just get to it, see if we can run up a stack. So in the first hour or so, we experienced a little bit of card death, but eventually looked down at the beautiful 8-7 of spades on the button. There's 2 limpers. I decided to raise it up, and both of the limpers make the call. So 3 ways to a flop, which comes down Jack 9-6 with 2 spades. Pretty great flop for our hand, even though we just have 8 high, flush draw, and open-ended straight draw. The first player checks, and the second player decides to bet $16. Action's on us, and I think you could certainly make a case for raising here, but this player in particular was fairly tight, and also there's a player behind us, so in position I think calling is fine too, so that's what I do this time, and the first player folds. The turn's not a great card, it's the Jack of Diamonds. This time he continues for $30, certainly not putting in a raise at this point, so again, just make the call. The river comes a Queen of Diamonds, so we brick everything. He shoves all in for around 160, I think it was. Doesn't matter too much. Quickly make the fold. So all that equity, that pretty looking flop, amounts to nothing this time. Next, we look down at pocket 8s from the big blind. There's 3 or 4 limpers. I don't mind a raise here, but getting called in a few different spots would make the hand kind of difficult to play. Middling pairs from out of position, definitely not necessary, so I decided to just check this time and see what happens. Obviously, we flop a set on Queen 8-5 with 2 hearts. I think I should mostly be betting here, but I make a mistake, I think, and check, and it checks around. The turn is the 10 of Diamonds. I bet $5, hoping that at least someone puts some money in the middle. One of the limpers calls, and the button now makes it $10. So things are getting pretty crazy here. I'm trying to build a pot, so I decide to put in a 3-bet here, make it $45. The limper folds in between, and the button folds pocket fives face up.
Come at me with this fucking shit again, and you know I'm in a violent mode right now.
Yep, set over set. He just lets it go to a 3-bet on the turn. Let's just move on. So pretty frustrating to be on the right side of a cooler there. Set over set. Those are usually spots that either lose you or make you a lot of money, and it seems like we got cheated this time. And to add to the pain, at this point we start to get pretty good cards, raise it up, and take it down every single time. No action. Eventually we open pocket 10s under the gun to $11 and get 3-bet by an early position player to $25. I've never been happier to get raised. Haven't seen action like this in hours, so happily make the call. Out of position, heads up to a flop of 4-3 deuce rainbow. I check and he continues for $45. Certainly not loving my hand at this point, but can't let an overpair go for just 1 bet. He could still be doing this with 2 overs a lot of the time, so make the call and go heads up to a turn, which is the jack, bringing in a backdoor heart draw. I check once again. He jams for around 110 or 120, I think it was. And at this point, I think we're pretty done with the hand. Losing to all over pairs, obviously. And even if he is bluffing with ace king, which I think is very unlikely at this point, he still actually has 10 outs to beat our measly pocket 10s. So give the cards right back to the dealer and move on to the next hand. Next, we look down at King Jack offsuit from early position. There's one limper. I decide to raise it up to $12. A player on our left calls and everyone else folds. So heads up to a flop of Queen 10-7 rainbow. Open-ended to the nuts with not very much showdown value here with King High. Certainly a candidate for a bet, so I make it $15. He makes the call. Turn is the 9 of spades, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. I'd say that's a pretty good turn card, giving us the nuts. Continue for $25. He makes the call. The river is another 7, so we could check and induce from missed draws, I guess, but there's not a lot of those, and also this player doesn't seem like the type to bet missed draws, so I'm just going to bet for value here and hope he has a queen or maybe a 10 that just doesn't believe us. I slide out a bet and he releases right away. Shortly after, I look down at ace-9 of hearts from under the gun. Not really a hand you have to open, but in a game this passive, it looks like pocket kings to me, so I make it $10. The player on my left calls, and one other player makes the call. So 3 ways to a flop, which comes jack 7-4 with 2 hearts. Normally, I lean more towards checking nut flush draws, but in this case, I think it's fine to put out a c-bet and try to build a pot, not expecting to get raised, so I make it $15. And actually, the player on my left does put in a raise, but it's just a min raise to $30. The other player folds, and I happily make the call. Turn is the 8 of hearts. This guy was fairly tight, so I actually decide to lead, which is a little unorthodox, but I'm expecting him to check back the turn a lot, so I make it $45. Even though our hand is kind of face up, I think it's fine. He makes the call, and we go heads up to a river, which is the queen of spades. He only has around $100 behind at this point. Not even a pot-sized bet, so I decide to put it all in there.
All in. What? All in.
And he quickly folds ace-jack offsuit. Not sure if I'm in love with the way I played the hand, but again, another example of not very much action here at Red Rock.
So after that ace-9 of hearts hand, I decided to actually call it a day because I felt like I was the only one at the table driving the action. And for me personally, that's not a good thing. I find myself putting a lot of money in the middle, trying to get the game going, and it usually results in me losing and everyone else just playing tight as a rock, waiting for me to punt. So got into the game for 400, played for about 3 or 4 hours, and cashed out for 390 for a loss of $10. Obviously not the most exciting result. I'd almost rather take a big loss or have a big win just to get a story for the vlog, but I think at least it's indicative of the kind of action to be found here, at least from my experience. Not a lot of money moving around, and my results directly reflected that. Moving on to something that seems much more exciting to me. This channel is creeping up on 5,000 subscribers. Hopefully it reaches that someday soon. And for that, I wanted to do a special episode. I was thinking of playing 2-5 for 12 hours, a marathon session, and just making a vlog out of it with the biggest pots from that entire session. If that's something that sounds fun to you guys, let me know in the comments. And if you have any alternate ideas, I'd be happy to hear those as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for giving this video a thumbs up. If you did, that really helps me out. And thanks to almost 5,000 of you guys who subscribed. Love doing these videos, and I can't believe it's gotten this far already. So looking forward to the next vlog. Hopefully you guys are excited for that one as well. As always, good luck out there, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.